YouTube, it's Maddie, the Emptiness Scrapper. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you stopped by. If it's your first time, I hope you enjoy the content. And if you're returning, as always, I'm so very glad you came back. Today, I intend to do a comparison video of water-soluble media. And I call it media because even though in my mind they are all water-soluble crayons, they are not all crayons. And when I get to sharing which crayons I have in my stash, I will point out which ones I'm just calling crayons, but they're actually not crayons. So, or not, not crayons. So, I hope it helps you decide what you want to try in your stash, and maybe it'll help me see if there are any differences, any reason to have this many, and maybe I'll let some go. So let's take a look at what I have. First one is the Faber-Castell gel stick. Let's take a look at that one. So that is marketed for children, and the Amazon price currently is $12 for $13.49. Comes out to $1.12 each. Next up is the Faber-Castell Gelato, which I'm sure many of you either have or heard of. And right now, for a 28 count, they're $41 on Amazon, which comes out to $1.21 each. Next up, I have Dina Wakley scribble sticks. Hope you can see that. I tried to pick out similar colors. And for Dina Wakley, they are sold in 12 counts. I believe there are 3 in total of 12 count sticks, and they are $28.99 for $12. And that comes out to $2.42 each. That was a little surprise for me. They actually, at the current time, are the most expensive of the lot. Next one is also marketed as a children's product. It is the Woody, and this one, I believe, is a chunky water-soluble pencil. So it's not really a water-soluble crayon, but I use them the same way, so I thought it would be good to compare them together. And the Woodies are an 18 count for $35 on Amazon. Second most expensive at $1.94 each. Another surprise to me. Next one is by Prima. And currently Prima is marketing under Art Philosophy. This is an older set. Can you see that it says Prima? And this is an oil pastel. So technically it is not a water-soluble crayon. I don't really know exactly how it's different in the makeup, but I'm certain it is. It has a little bit of a different texture, and I enjoy the texture, actually. I do like these. And currently, they are marketed under the name Art Philosophy, coming in a 12 count. At the time I bought them, I picked it up at a 24 count. But the 12 count right now on Amazon is $13.44, and that comes out to $1.12 each. Last but not least, if you're familiar with this medium at all, everybody's all-time favorite, if you watch YouTube videos for art journaling or using mixed media, is Caran d'Ache. And Caran d'Ache is considered the very finest in water-soluble crayons. It absolutely is a water-soluble crayon. I have a 30 count right now. That 30 count on Amazon is $45, and that comes out to $1.52 each. For those of you who have full set syndrome, the full set is 84 count, and that is $139.95 on Amazon, which comes out to, surprisingly, $1.67 each. So it costs you more to get a larger set. I don't know why. I don't know if that's always the case. But right now, September 22nd of 2022, that's what Amazon is showing me. So I will leave links to all of those, all of the materials on Amazon. I do not have an affiliate link or anything. I'm just sharing it with you if it's something that you are interested in. So I'm going to go ahead and put down these colors. I tried to get similar colors for each crayon, and see how they work on untreated paper and paper treated with gesso. So I have that marked. We can take a look, and I am using Canson XL mixed media paper. So if that's something that you use in your art journaling or something similar, so you're aware of what this comparison is showing you, because the paper makes a difference and the treatment makes a difference. So let's take a look. What I am going to do is a finger smudging test, and with a dry finger, and also with a baby wipe, which is a popular technique. And then also I want to see how it spreads out with water, and I'm just going to use a water brush for that. So first I'm going to take a dry finger, untreated paper, gel stick. Let's see if we smudge. We're smudging a little bit. I don't know if that's a look anyone is looking for. I'll let you see it. And now the baby wipe technique. So we're going to smudge that out. This baby wipe's a little bit dry. Took off quite a bit of the material. Smudging on untreated paper, not so much. Let's see how we do with water. And for this, what I want to see is, does it liquefy, and can you see the material underneath? So liquefies pretty well, but on untreated paper, the gelato, I would say you can still see some of the marks that were initially made. Next up, let's see his big brother, the gelato. And we'll make some marks again. And do the same test. So this finger still seems to be okay. The gelato doesn't completely smudge out. Let's see with the baby wipe. That smudges out much better. I'll give you a closer look. And let's see how we do with the water. See if we can get rid of the scribble marks underneath. And it looks like they actually are disappearing pretty well. And I'll let you take a look at that close up as well. We'll revisit in a little bit after they're dried to see what that looks like. Next up is the scribble stick. This goes on quite a bit drier if you're interested. On this untreated paper. And just making my marks, and you can see how they do. Yeah, that feels very dry. So with my finger, nothing. Didn't budge at all. Not everyone is looking for that, but just so you know, here with the baby wipe, we've got pretty good smudging. If you can see that, hopefully, a little bit. And let's see what happens with the water. Let's see if we can make those lines go away and liquefy this completely. So it liquefies pretty well, but those marks are still visible. And I did put down quite a bit of water. I hope it doesn't drip when I pick this up, because I wanted to give it a good chance to get rid of those lines. We'll revisit that later, so it will be completely dry when you take a look. Okay, this is one of my favorites. Don't ask me why. I think just because it's a little chubby guy, but this is the Woody. So we're gonna put some down for my finger, some down for my baby wipe, and some down for my water. So I'll start with a dry finger, and we are not really moving on untreated paper with a dry finger. Baby wipe, let's take a look and see. So it moves a little bit. Material came off on the baby wipe. You want to see that, but it's not really making those marks go away, and none of them actually did up until this point right here. Last, the water brush test. Let's see how far we can get this to dissolve and possibly get rid of those marks that I made initially, and that looks like it's doing a fabulous job. So let me dry this water brush off. It's pretty wet. I hope it doesn't drip, but take a look. You can see some of it. I think if I worked it a little bit longer, I might have gotten the entire thing to liquefy, but did a pretty good job. So now for the Prima Oil Pastel, and that one goes on very creamy. The gelato as well, very creamy, and the gel stick goes on very creamy. The scribble stick and the Woody were pretty dry and more pencil-like. So let's see what happens with a dry finger with the Prima. So here I am getting more smudging, but not really something that is blending, let's say. Okay, let's see what happens with a baby white. So the baby wipe smudges some out, but also not so much blendy. And finally, the water test. And this just melts away. I don't have to work it anymore. Take a look. Beautiful. Okay, and here is the king of them all, the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2s. So this one goes on a little bit dry as well. And making some nice marks. And we'll see what they can do. So let's see on the untreated paper. Doesn't really move. Baby wipe. So it moves a little bit. Again, not what I would call necessarily a blend out, but it does move. And liquefies immediately. Those marks cannot really be seen. Actually, oh my goodness, I am dripping all over the paper. I really tried to work those scribble sticks, but that didn't really help out. Okay, and the Caran d'Ache liquefied perfectly. So we're going to put this aside and take a look at how they do on paper that has been treated with gesso. So let's find our gel stick and see how it does. So one for the finger, one for the baby wipe, and one for, and I did use white gesso, not clear, if that matters to you. I'm gonna take a new baby wipe so I don't really get the previous marks all over. And let's see how they do. I'm gonna dry my finger since I just touched the wet baby wipe and see how we smudge. Okay, right away, I can feel the smudging going much better with the gessoed paper. So depending on how you want to work that, looks like it smudged out pretty well. Gel stick with the baby wipe, kind of disappeared. I got it all here. So that's what that looks like. And let's see how we do with water. That liquefied beautifully over the gesso. So there's our look. Okay, next up we have gelatos. And let's make some marks and see what we can do. Here we are with a dry finger. And that smudged out very nicely. Gesso makes so much of a difference. Here comes the baby wipe. Gonna use a light touch because it seems to just be erasing. But you could get a pretty good smudge out there. And let's see how we do with the water. Liquefies beautifully. Yes, it does. Okay. So, next up we have the scribble stick. Let's put down some marks and see what they can do. Yeah, this definitely goes on dry. But that may be what you're looking for. Maybe what I'm looking for, depending on what I'm doing. But let's see what happens. Gonna dry off my finger. Make sure I don't have any baby wipe residue on there. Use a different finger. Scribble stick is not moving with a dry finger. Doesn't move. Okay, next, let's see a baby wipe on gessoed paper. Lighter touch, definitely moves and also removes a lot of the material, as do all of them. But that one kind of disappeared pretty rapidly. And here comes the water. Come in with some water, and we're liquefying pretty well. I do have to work it, I think, a little tiny bit more in order to get those marks to go away. And actually, I see those marks coming back. Take a look. The one thing I will say, even though it looks like a little bit of a lighter color, doesn't look quite as pigmented as the rest. And if you're looking for a pastel look, maybe the scribble stick is for a pastel project. It's up to you or me. Whatever we're working on, we take a look and see what is our best choice. So let's take a dry finger for the woody. Woody feels like it's moving on the gessoed piece, just a bit, and actually a little bit more than a bit. So I'm gonna let you take a look. Not bad, right? Okay, let's try a baby wipe. Gonna use a light touch so I don't remove all of the material. It always comes off, and that's the nature of the baby wipe technique. So you can see it smudged out pretty well with a baby wipe. Finally, my water brush. Let's see how we liquefy on treated paper. So it looks like I got rid of pretty much all of the original markings. Excuse me. I'll let you take a look, and we will move on. So next up, I have the oil pastel. We'll put down our marks. And then we'll do our little comparison. So let's see how the oil pastel does with a dry finger on gessoed paper. They all do so much better on the gesso with the dry finger. I'll show the comparison with the untreated paper at the end, so you can see that did pretty well. Excuse me. Now let me get a clean spot on this baby wipe. Baby wipe is doing double duty today. I'm gonna try to use a light touch so we can keep some of that material on the paper. I think the Prima has a little advantage because it looks like the particular color that was closest is a little bit darker, but you can see smudged out very nicely. Excuse me. And then last but not least, the water test. So did not squeeze out any water at all for this. It just liquefied beautifully. Pardon me, I'm so sorry. There you get a look. I don't see any marks on there for the Prima Oil Pastel. And then Caran d'Ache. So dry finger spot, baby wipe spot, and then water brush spot. Here we go. Let's see how we do with the dry finger. So it does seem to be moving somewhat, and if you work it, you could probably get all of the marks to disappear pretty well. Take a look. Next, the baby wipe. And we'll just move it a bit. And I did use a light touch. You could see it would completely smudge out if I worked it a little more. I just wanted to try to leave some pigment there. And then after cleaning my brush, let's take a look at how it liquefies. And of course, Caran d'Ache liquefies immediately with hardly any water at all. So I'm going to bring back our untreated paper so we can take another look, and I will bring it up so you can see it after it dried for a bit. Here we have the untreated paper. The gel stick did not do very well with a dry finger or a baby wipe, and I believe you can see also the marks on the original scribble on the untreated paper. Same for the gelato, although I must say it looks like it did do better with the baby wipe technique. Next, we had the scribble stick. So it didn't move at all with the dry finger. We have some movement with the baby wipe, and I can see the original marks on my paper with the water. Next, you can see the woody. It did not move on the untreated paper with a dry finger. It moved a little bit with the use of a baby wipe, but it liquefied pretty well. I still believe I see some of the original marks. Yes, I do. Then we have the Prima oil pastels. Just the slightest movement with a dry finger. A little bit of movement with the baby wipe, and a pretty good liquefaction with the water, but you'd have to work it more if you wanted to get rid of all of the marks. And then the Caran d'Ache. We had no movement on untreated paper with a dry finger. We had some movement with the baby wipe, and very, very good liquefaction on this untreated paper. I still see a hint of the original marks beneath all of them, even the Caran d'Ache, although it could probably be reworked. But with the treated paper, with gesso, they all moved with a dry finger, and that didn't happen on the untreated paper. They all moved with a dry finger. They all moved with the baby wipe, and except for the scribble stick, they all liquefied and got rid of all of the original markings from the mark making that I put down. So you have the prices, you have the comparison. Here they are side by side. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please take a minute and leave a comment below. Let me know what type of videos you would like to see. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber and you did enjoy the content, please consider subscribing. Have a great day and stay safe. Bye-bye, YouTube.